All right, we're going to discuss the three algorithms that are currently available. It's the QWave Scalper, the QCloud Trend Trader, and QSumo. In the future, there may be more available. They'll be discussed in different videos, but for right now, these are the three that we have. And I will start with the differences between the three and when you would want to use which one, and then we'll separately go through the settings for each one. So the first that we'll discuss is QSumo. It's the most complicated of the three. So first off, I should mention that none of this is really tuned for anything. So don't expect to see incredible results while you're sitting here watching this. And I would like to say that algorithmic trading is much more than clicking play and making money. That doesn't really exist. You can't really click play and just make money. So algorithmic trading is a lot about the records that you keep, the testing and the data that you collect, and the way that you deploy your algorithms. There will be no set of settings that's going to work every single day. You will need to change them. You will need to have multiple alerts. You will need to be using different algorithms on different days, different settings of alerts on different days. So like I say, it's all about the records that you keep. Thankfully, you are not alone because there are other people in the in QuantVue that are also using these and could have some information to tell you. So it's the very first thing I want to tell you about algorithmic trading so that you don't just expect to click play and make money. But let's discuss the differences in the algorithms. This right here is QSumo. It is designed to, as you can see, reverse in the markets when it wants to. So you see we're long right here. It reverses, goes short, stops out, finds another incredible long right there. That's a disgusting long. Look at that thing. 16,875 to 1715. Holy moly. It tried to go short and stopped out, went back to long and took a profit. Okay, so what this one will do is it will try to follow these trends in the market, these swings in the market. So here's a really good example right here. And this was actually from the overnights into the morning. So you'll see it shorted. Looked like we might be reversing. It actually made a little bit of money right here on this long, just a little bit of money. And then it reversed back down, and then it reversed back to long. And all of these were really nice trades. So that's what it tries to do, is it tries to follow the markets around like that. Now, you're going to notice it's doing a whole bunch of stuff this whole time. It's taking partial profits, and then it also has other things like, and again, we'll get into the settings in a little bit, but it can do things like adding. So right there, you'll see we add in. See right there, down to there. So it will try to scalp through the trends and stuff like that. So it's a very adaptive algorithm. If it detects low volatility, oh, here's an example right here. So we had low volatility and it just went ahead and stopped us right out of that trade immediately. It doesn't always get it perfect, but it does do its best. And when it detects low volatility, you can actually keep it from trading if you want, or it takes profits off the table quicker. So here you can see how it just kind of follows the trends as they move around. So you're going to want to be using this. Number one, you'll want to use this only with an API connection. This cannot possibly be used with our prop trading software. It is not compatible with that at all. It's far too complicated. Quantities change far too often. Trades happen far too often. It has to happen, or it has to have API connection. There's just no way around that. Must use it with API. And you're going to want to use this on a day that you do not expect consolidation. You do not expect chop. You want to see these big ranging movements. See, we've got these big ranges moving along. Over here, we've got this big range. So it's fine. It doesn't need to all trend in one direction, as you can see, because it can reverse, right? But we do want to see larger movements for the day. and we will have an objective kind of method that you could use to determine, well, at least statistically determine the best times to use an algorithm like this. But, if you're expecting some sort of news that day, or maybe you're at some sort of weekly or monthly support or resistance area, that sort of thing, and you expect a big bounce off of an area, then this would be a decent algorithm to deploy on that day because it's got these big long-ranging movements. It doesn't do so well in chop. As you can see, it'll kind of get chopped up. See it stopped a couple times, stopped like 3 times, 4 times here. So it'll kind of get chopped up a bit if you're just moving sideways. So it really wants those trends and those ranges. All right, so now we'll move to the scalper. Well, I'll actually talk about the trend trader first. The trend trader, it's Q Cloud trend trader. It runs off of, surprisingly enough, Q Cloud and a few other things. Again, we will get into it more in the settings, but this is a prop trader compatible version, I guess you could say, of CUMO. And what it does is it finds those big trends again in the market. See, we've got this big downtrend, this big uptrend, loses a little bit down here, but that's okay. It makes its money when the markets really move, and that's what we're looking for. Is we want to capture all of those movements. So like I say, this is just a prop trader compatible version of QSumo. You can also, of course, use this with API, but again, you're going to be looking for those trending days. Now the other one, the scalper, this one is not going to be so much for your trending days. It'll be a little bit more for your consolidation days. Although it can work in a trend day just fine. We have a couple different versions of it. I like this fast scalper. I've been playing with this a lot recently. We're just looking to take little chunks off the table here and there. You see it produces a decent little profit curve. Just looking over here, we've only got one stop. The rest of these are all profits. And with this is prop trader compatible. You will want to run this with ATM brackets though. So we just send the entry signal, and then it will activate at the broker the ATM brackets, and then it can take profits and stop out while it's at the broker. We've got 1 stop, 2 stops, 3 stops out of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 trades. So that's not bad. Got 6 for 9. So that's the fast scalper, and then it does have, showing you first, the regular scalper version. This one you're going to need to play with a little bit, find the right settings for it. Sometimes it'll work great, sometimes it won't. It wants to run a little bit further, so here's an example. See, it runs quite a bit further rather than just like one box. So again, it's going to all depend on what you're looking for that day, what you think is going to happen. We can do a few different things here. We can turn off that. Yeah, see, it gets a little bit shorter. I'll go through that in the settings, that sort of thing. So it's got a whole bunch of settings, different ways that you can put it together. But in any event, the different settings and the different algorithms, as you can see, they will work better in different environments, right? So all of these work together. With the 3 of these, you can absolutely wreck the markets. Absolutely. But you have to put them together in a manner that is, what's the right word? A manner that is efficient. So with all the different settings, here, let me show you. So hold on, we'll go back to, actually we'll stay right here. So if we want to see a lot more trades, see, we can do that. We get more trades, but we're also seeing a few more stops, right? Change that, change something like that. I'm just showing you different things here. I'm not recommending these settings. So you see how just changing the settings will change these sorts of things going on. So if we have a lot of consolidation, like see here, found a lot more profit in that. If we have a lot of consolidation going on, then it might be worth it to change your settings to something that will work better in that consolidation. So that's why you never want to have just one set of settings or one algorithm attempting to beat the markets at any one time. So now let's discuss really quick Renko backtesting, because Renko backtesting has some very inherent issues. And I just pulled up here on the screen one of my favorite tools. I wrote this, just search for TUE Renko Box Time Tester. It's free. You just pull it off the indicators thing, and it will show you where you're getting duplicated boxes. And I will explain to you in just 1 second what that means. If you're not familiar with the way Renko charts work, then stop this right now and go watch a video on how they work, because we're not going to discuss that here. We're just going to discuss how their operation can interfere with backtesting. So as you can see, we have a couple of issues. Number one is going to be duplicated boxes. That's everywhere you have one of these triangles. And let's see, with the box time tester, you can see we actually have an incidence rate of 24%, which is kind of high. It's mostly because of this. The markets were probably moving really fast right here. Okay, and well, that actually leads me to my next issue. Look at the timestamps there, the bottom. You see that? 1350, 1350, 1350, 1350, 1348. Okay, I'm on a 1 second chart. Those bars should not be minutes. And that's the second issue that we come to with backtesting on Renko. And that's a TradingView specific issue where they do not cache seconds level data very far. So look right there, look at the timestamps, see how the timestamps have seconds on them. 352.01, for example, and we go back, right here, and that's where our seconds timestamps disappear. Okay, so that's a big issue when you backtest on Renko, because when we're backtesting, we are not getting proper data. It's the availability of that historical data causes problems. And this is another issue with historical and real-time data on Renko, or excuse me, on TradingView in general. Because when you look at a bar chart, right, we'll just pull up a bar chart here real quick. You look at a bar chart. This is historical bar chart data. So we know open, high, low, close. That's all we know, and the minute that it started at, and the volume for it, and technically trade counts as well. But we don't know which of these prices came first. We don't know if it went to the low first. We don't know if it went to the high first and then came back down and then went to the close. We don't know. We have no idea what it did inside of that bar. We only know those 4 price points. That's it. So the TradingView engine does its best to interpret things. It'll try to use lower time frames as data is available, and it does a decent job of it. But not knowing which part of that pricing came first causes problems. Number one, it will cause indicators to change if you refresh your screen. That's why I never recommend using the browser version. I always recommend using the desktop version of TradingView, and specifically in Windows. I think Mac OS has some refreshing problems. The desktop Windows version of TradingView is by far the best version. If you're stuck on a Mac, then you'll need to use the browser version. So that's an issue. If you refresh stuff, you load a new chart or whatever, it's going to pull historical data, so you don't have that context of what price came first. So your indicators can change. Now, if you're just sitting here watching the screen, it will cache real-time data, and it will give you a particular reading on your indicators. And then again, like I say, if you refresh it, it can show you a different reading. That is completely normal and expected behavior. I want to say that again. That is completely normal and expected behavior. It's the difference between historical and real-time. So that's another problem with backtesting, okay, is that caching of data. Now, again, that's the difference between historical and real time. Then when we're looking at historical, it only caches seconds data for a few days. With deep back testing, I think you get 5 days. That's about it with the Pro plan anyway. And you can upgrade further to the premium, but you can upgrade to like some Pro plans, and it gives you a little bit more seconds data, but basically it's not the best. So you're pretty much limited to backtesting within the same week that you're currently on if you have the premium and you have deep backtesting. So if it's Thursday, you can backtest on Monday, that kind of thing. which is okay. It can help you out a little bit with looking at things, but again, when you are running algorithms, it doesn't matter if they are bar charts or Renko charts. Forward testing is king. I want to make that clear. Do not look at back testing and try to dial things in by back testing more than, again, more than that week. I prefer just to look at how it responds to the bars that are on my chart for that day, because I know, I can look at the structures of the bars. I know, okay, this is a choppy market, or this is a ranging market, that kind of thing. And I can see what it's doing in those different environments. So, I mean, really, you don't need to look at it for more than a couple of days just to kind of get a sense of where your settings should be, and then you're going to forward test and you're going to collect that data over time. That is the proper way to deal with testing these algorithms, because back testing is extraordinarily problematic at best, and at worst it's just a straight up lie. So don't put all of your faith into back testing. It doesn't matter if it's bar chart or Renko chart. There are ways to back test things properly, but they involve coding in Python generally, and using tick data that you have paid for. These are all things that I do. They're all things I can actually help you with and accomplish. But as far as TradingView goes, you will not be able to do that. So let's get into the settings of QSumo. So first of all, right here at the top, we have Enable Live Trading Mode. QSumo is a very complicated algorithm. It uses a lot of data internally. So it can take a little bit to load. Sometimes when you're running alerts on it, it can cause calculation errors because it just has so much historical data that's pulling in. So when you actually go to set your alert, this is one of the things you want to enable. That enables it essentially like stops it from caching data more than a week back, which will prevent that calculation error. So when you actually set your alert, make sure to turn this on. And I'm not going to be discussing setting alerts in this video. There is a separate video on how to set TradingView alerts properly. Next, we have DeSumo Min. Click this. I'll show you what it does. So you're going to notice now this does opens and closes a lot more like the QCloud Trend Trader. It's situationally useful for things on like Bitcoin, for example. I found this works really good. The DeSumo Min, especially if you're trading Bitcoin, you also can't short, so you set it to DeSumo Min and you go to long only, and then it works actually really well on Bitcoin. The news mode, so it automatically does this if you are letting it trade by itself. Hold on, set this a little bit. See if I see any changes. Okay, I didn't actually see here any on the chart to show you, but what it'll do is it just makes it a little bit more difficult to switch trends, that sort of thing. It can help if you're sitting here trading this by hand. I don't know why you would be trading it by hand, but some people do. So if you are trading by hand, you can turn that on, and it just makes it a little bit more difficult to establish a new trend. By the way, if you're looking here in the settings, you never have to go ask what something does, because number one, there's this video, and number two, there are tooltips on everything. Okay, enable the Sumo trade colors. So we click that, and then it no longer has the trade colors. Now it just has the regular colors that are part of Renko. So see, it's got the green and red boxes. Whereas if you turn that on, it will show you the directional, right? So green for long, red for short. Helps make it a little bit easier to see. Enable threshold coloring. Okay, you can see those wavy lines disappeared. We'll put that back. Those wavy lines indicate where the threshold is for it to switch trend directions. So it'll switch from long to short, short to long, vice versa. Now that line is very non-linear, as you might see. That is not any sort of standard indicator that you'll find. That is all my custom mathematics that do that. So that's why I have included this on here so that you can see what it's doing if you wanted to trade manually. We'd also have the stop out coloring, and that's there's actually two. You're going to see over here the red line and the blue line. The blue line, you see it says partial profit. That is actually a trailing stop that engages partway through the trade. The red line is actually a partial stop line. So see over here, it will actually partial stop. And partial stop and partial profit is part of the way that DeSumo works. Excuse me, I use the terms DeSumo and QSumo interchangeably. The name has changed for QSumo for QuantVue. So if you're watching in the future and it says QSumo and everything, the words QSumo and DeSumo are the same thing. It refers to this algorithm. So that is just part of the way that it operates. Is it will take partial stops and it will take partial profits. You probably have seen plenty of partial profits, but you've probably never seen a partial stop before. And I found through a lot of testing that partial stops would actually serve to increase profitability because a lot of times it would reverse and go in the direction of the trade, and you would still catch a little bit of profit and it would probably bring the trade back up to flat. Or sometimes it'll partial stop and then later it's going to change direction anyway. So it actually just takes some of the it'll take some of the position out early and save some capital. So either way, it actually saves some capital doing partial stops, and that was just something I found out through a lot of trial and error, mostly error. So yeah, you can turn those on and off right there. Okay, DeSumo full and DeSumo min. I already showed you what min does, but here's full. So we can turn on ads if you want. Sometimes ads are going to work great, sometimes they're not. All depends. So here's an example of an ad. It pulled an ad up here, went to there. We caught about 8 points on that. Sometimes you're going to miss them. It's going to do that. Sometimes they'll be fantastic, like this one. It's a great ad right there. So they're very situational. Sometimes they work well, sometimes they don't. And it's up to you to decide which one is going to work better on the particular ticker that you are running on. Now, the exact number, this is the exact number of contracts that you want to use in that ad. So, and when discussing contracts, by the way, QSumo is going to work best with a minimum of 4 contracts. Although you can get away with 3, it'll work best with a minimum of 4. You can use less, but then it's getting out of the market more often. And also pyramiding at 2. Okay, enable low volatility trading. Let's see if I can find an example here. Okay, here's a great example right here. You can see this is an overnight session, and it detected the volatility was very low. You can see over here it went ahead and took all of its position off the table once it detected low volatility, and then did not open again until it found more volatility here. So let's look at this. Enable low volatility trading. And voila, now it trades in the low volatility. Sometimes this works out well, sometimes it doesn't. Personally, I run with it on. But again, that's a personal decision to make. So that's what the low volatility trading thing does. Now we'll discuss the take profits and the stop outs. Should be pretty obvious what those do. So enable take profits. Watch this will disappear. Hey, right there, take profits gone. Personally, I leave them on. I think you make a lot more money with it on. And same thing with stop losses. It'll just turn off our stop losses. 60 years of stop, and it turns it off. Again, I think you make more money with them on. There is this option right here called early reversals. Okay, so watch this one right here. You're going to see it change. Okay, so here's a good example of the early reversals. This is just how it normally is. Now we have the ability to make it reverse faster. Now this is good if you expect rapid trend changes throughout the day. So we've got some sort of news release during the day, and you want it to change quick. See, it changed a lot. It will change much quicker, and it'll actually say when it goes early or when it goes long. So, or excuse me, when it goes early short or early long. So see right here's an early short. Let's turn it off. We'll see where that goes to. Yeah, see it came right down here. So it's about 4 blocks later. So that can help you if you expect rapid trend changes. Okay, the next part here is the consolidation filter. This is one of the things that makes DeSumo, or QSumo, excuse me. We'll turn that off. And now this will reverse a lot more like if the Q wave is on a really short length, it reverses a lot of the time when you're in consolidation. And see how this just chops. You're going to lose a ton of money right here. Whereas if we have the consolidation filter, it's a lot different looking, huh? And that's one of the big things that makes DeSumo DeSumo. And you can change the sensitivity as well. So with this, higher numbers are less sensitive. So make sure to roll over your tooltip over here. So if we bring it up a little bit, you'll see some changes. Right there, have some changes. So again, that's up to you to figure out what is going to work best on the asset that you are trading. So now we'll look at min down here. Enable min. So we do have reversals as well. And it looks a lot more like full DeSumo, but not quite. See, here's an example of reversal. See, it was short, and it reversed back to long. They don't kick in every time, but sometimes they do. Right there, it did it. Enable low volatility trading and enable consolidation filter, all for min. Those do exactly what we just saw above. And now restricting dates for backtesting. If you want to only backtest particular dates, you can do so. You can click that here, and then it will restrict this time frame that you're going to see down here, regardless of what your settings are right there, right? So you can set it all the way back to the very first date. I think it's like 1799 or something, and it will still just keep the start time right there. That's really only useful in particular circumstances. Again, backtesting isn't that good for Rankos, but it does exist in here. Now, the last part here is time preferences, and I almost always run with these on. Personally, I just run it till noon, usually. Click that. There we go. Turn off min. Okay, there we go. So, for example, you can see right over here, it had this nice little short, and then this long, and then it closed. That was it. That's all it did. That was it for the whole day. Over here today, let's see. Had a stop out, a little bit of money. That's going to stop out again. That's a loss. So today, not that great. The last several days, though, have been fantastic. Keep that in mind. You will have losing days when you're algorithmically trading. We're just looking for the winning days to outnumber the losing days. If at the end of the week you have a positive number, then your revenue curve has increased for that week and you are on the right track. So don't worry about any individual day. But that is all you have to do for the time frame. So it will open trades during that time frame and it will force them to close at the end of the time frame. That's it. Now this time string right here, if you click this thing, the syntax is right there of how to use it. And that's it for QSumo. Let's look at the trend trader next. So you can see this looks a little bit messy. Go out to 5 seconds. Let's see if it's any better. Yeah, a little bit. Today's not the best day. You can see this kind of chop. That's why the trend trader doesn't work that well in this kind of chop. There's a nice short over there. But nonetheless, let's go into the settings here. We again have time preferences right at the top. Will allow you to open, close trades, particular time, time string syntax right there. Direction selection, long, short, both. Current box size. Make sure to put your box size on there. So you see these larger, big sort of shaded areas behind the Q cloud. That's because it actually pulls Q cloud from a higher box size as well. So make sure to have your current box size selected in here. Now there are closing methods for trades. There is Oracle method. This comes from Trader Oracle. Just when we see a reversal on the Q cloud, that's when we close it. We'll also have Oracle method plus one Renko. So if we have one Renko show up with an X, then we will also close it. Every now and then you might see one of those. Or we have the trailing stop method. Right there, it's the same trailing stop that you have seen from QSumo. It works exactly the same way. We have trailing stop, engagement level multiplier, and stop distance multiplier. Those are in ATR. So it engages, see here, it'll engage about 4 ATR after it passes. Well, I'll pull this back up so you can see the settings. After it passes, and then the stop distance multiplier is 3.5. Make sure that stop distance is less than engagement. That way you always make sure that you're keeping some profits. And there is also this default method in here. This will close trades a little bit differently. You can see it stays in them much longer. There's a lot less chop back and forth. But it may keep less profits. So keep that in mind. It may keep less profits. But there's less chop. So depends on what you'd like to do. And the closing method of that is algorithmically defined inside of the program. So candle coloring, we can turn on gradients of trades if you would like to see where we are right there with regards to the Q clouds. And people kind of like this because you can actually manually trade, but this is really cool. So when we're all the way down to the dark red, that means everything is red on both of our Q cloud timeframes, or box size frames, I should say. Or when everything is green, that means all systems go. So it has this cool gradient. And then there's also the trade, and this does the same thing as QSumo. You see right here, green when we're in a long, and red when we're in a short, white when there's nothing going on. So that's all that does. Show stop lines will show you that trailing stop if you are in trailing mode, or show Q cloud. You can turn the Q cloud off if you'd like. Custom alerts down here if you would like to, and I go through this in the alerts, in the custom alerts video, but that's where you're going to put these, is if you want to use custom JSON from like Trader's Post or AutoView or whatever. And then you can change colors down there. That's really all there is about the trend trader. Like I say, it has to be used at particular times. And you want to make sure that you're using it on days that you're expecting a trend, expecting a decent trend, right? It's like, because if you don't have one, well, you're probably going to lose money like this right here. Next up, we'll go through the settings in the Scalper. Once again, we have our time frame at the top. Trade type, fast scalper, which is just going to be running your tick rewards down here, tick reward, tick risk. It's meant to take really fast scalps like this. They're really small, just ding ding. With this, you're either going to use ATM brackets on a prop trader and only send entry signals, or you're going to be using a very fast API connection. Trader's Post, AutoView, they are not fast enough to do this. You will need the custom API software that we sell, which can get your fill times down to about 35 milliseconds. Most commercial software is closer to 1 second or 1,000 milliseconds. So that's kind of the difference that you need. Or you can use ATM brackets. If you send take profits, hit stop losses along with the order, you can do it that way as well. We'll go back to the regular scalper here. Look at this. Okay. So we've got some options here. Again, there are tooltips for all of it. Box look back. So how this works is, let me turn on these proximity boundaries. How this works is it looks for a nice strong move right into that area of support or resistance. And in this case, this is going to be either Q wave midline, Q wave lower band, or the Q line. When it finds that nice move into it, it will open the scalp on the reverse. The box look back will just say, okay, I want to look back 4 boxes before the move into that proximity zone, and we're going to look at our strength coefficient. So at least 70% of those boxes need to be headed in our direction. So in this case, we have the last 4 boxes heading into, let me zoom in, heading into the proximity area, right? So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, and at least 70% were red because all 4 of them are red, so 100% were red, and that says, okay, we can open the trade. So that's how the box look back and the strength coefficient work. You can increase this to need to have a stronger move into it, and you can also change the strength coefficient. You can also change the proximity coefficient. So you can see the bands right here around them that says, okay, as long as we get into that area, that's what's going to trigger the trade. So you can change this to be really tight. And see, now I got rid of it because it's outside of the zone. Or it can be really big. Right there. See, that actually increased our profits kind of nicely. So it's up to you what you would like to use. Again, there is no set of settings that will work in every single situation. There is no best settings, so please do not ask me what the best settings are because I'm going to tell you to watch this video. Exactly where I say there are no best settings. This comes with all of these come with settings set that are a good baseline. So regular scalper risk, scalper reward. This is set in ATRs. So you're going to risk 2 ATR to get 4 ATR. So see, this is a nice big run right here. Then we go back. There was a stop over here, right here. So see, it's going to stop out. That stop is much less than this win, and that's what we're looking for with this. We want to have those nice big wins. Use volume to find entries, and when we go through the CVD indicator, you're going to see more of what that does, but that will help filter out a lot of trades. Volume is kind of the underlying current of the markets, right? It's like the underlying river, if you will. And by paying attention to it, paying attention to what it's doing, we can kind of get a heads up on all those moves. And again, watch the CVD indicator video for more information on that. But this is using the CVD indicator. And this length right here corresponds to the length of the fast line in the CVD indicator. So I pulled up the CVD here. Fast moving average length was set to 21. And now you're going to see it's this yellow line by default. And right here for this long, we want to see this line moving up. So it went ahead and went long right there, giving us this backdrop of volume moving up our direction and the short-term trend on volume right there, right? So that's kind of what we're looking for, and that's how it's filtering them out. The other selection that's in here is dynamic closes. The dynamic closes will stretch out the trades a little bit to get a little bit longer moves out of them. In this case, it actually got less because of what it's looking for. But in most cases, it's going to be a bit longer. Let me find you a good example here. All right, so here's kind of an example. So see, if you have it set to like a 2 reward, it'll take that right there. But if we go to dynamic closes, it's going to look, see it went up there. It's going to look for this big movement from here all the way up to the midline, or from midline to the lower band, like that kind of thing. It also has trailing stops that it can initiate. This is not going to be perfect for every asset. You know, up to you if you want to use it or not, again. But it is there. It is usable. And again, on some assets, it's going to be quite useful. Trailing stop distance multiplier, that's the same thing as the trailing stop distance in the Oracle. excuse me, in the QCloud Trend Trader. So scalp off midline, lower band, Q line, that you can change which ones you want to scalp off of. So we'll turn off Q line and turn off lower band, and that one disappears. See? You can choose which ones you want to scalp off of. Same thing here for the fast scalper. Now, if you set to the fast scalper, we'll go up here. And so we got this right here. Ticks reward, ticks risk, and you can set this however you want to set it, and it is in ticks. See, just moves us out a bit more. We've got our risk, so we'll look here at this stop. We'll drop it to 16. Watch the stop's going to change. Yep, right there. So my advice is to, and I hesitate to give advice, but my advice is to use, like I say, use brackets. Because you see we've got 3 profitable trades and 1 stop. However, if you are not using proper brackets or you don't have a fast enough API, then these could easily be losses. At least that one could be a loss. That would be a win. That might actually have ended up a win. Funny enough. But this one over here probably would have been a loss, that sort of thing. So if you are using the fast scalper, make sure you have something that can actuate your orders very, very quickly, or you are using brackets that are already at the broker. Now the Q wave and Q line settings down here, these are set by default for NQ. This is designed for NQ. You'll have to change these if you want to use on something else. These settings are based off of Travis's settings. He's one of the head traders in QuantVue, so based off of his settings. So you can change these. It will change the Q line, the Q wave, and it will scalp a little bit differently. So it is useful for different tickers, timeframes, assets. And then again, we have the custom alerts here at the bottom. So just to kind of recap on everything, the biggest frustration that people are going to face when they are trying to learn how to trade algorithmically is they believe that they can simply click play and they will make money, and that's because people have been conditioned seeing these frankly worthless and just straight out lying ads on Facebook. Oh, buy our bot, you'll make a whole bunch of money for $200. Nobody sells a profitable bot for $200. It just isn't a thing. What they don't tell you is that a lot of times those accounts are demo accounts, and there are various ways to fake those demo accounts into looking really good. There's also things that you can do to make money. Like you can do a lot of scalps, but the problem is that they don't tell you this, but the drawdowns are huge with a lot of those bots, as they just basically hold the position open until it wins. And then if it doesn't win, you have a massive drawdown. So there's a lot of those kind of things. Stay away from them because they're, for the most part, they're scams. Real algorithmic trading involves a lot of discipline and a lot of testing. The amount of testing that I've done, the amount of data that I've collected is nothing short of extraordinary. I have notebooks and notebooks full of just my writings and my ideas. I have spreadsheets. I have so many spreadsheets. It's ridiculous. I have so much data. I have gigabytes worth of data that I've collected and then I've collated. So trying to do this is not as easy as clicking play, and that's where most people get frustrated. So you have to take your time with it. You have to test things. You must forward test things. You must test things in different environments and ask people questions, ask other users questions, and that will hopefully get you on the right path.